was on the fence for a little while about buying a blower kit for the C6, so I wanted to share this video in hopes that maybe it'll help somebody that's on the fence as well. I'm going to start by saying when I first test drove my 2005 C6 Corvette, started out taking it slow. It felt smooth and drove really well. At the time, I was currently driving a 911 Carrera convertible. Wasn't an S or a turbo, but just a base Carrera. It didn't have tons of torque and lacked the wow factor when you slam the accelerator. I had owned the car for about a year and ended up selling it in frustration after getting spanked by a Tesla. So during the test drive of the Corvette, I started feeling a little bit more comfortable and decided to go ahead and let it rip. When I slammed the accelerator to the floor, I was completely blown away by the power. The torque that the LS engine produced felt awesome, and I was all smiles. So after owning the Corvette for about a year, I started to get used to the power and of course craved more. So I didn't think about putting a blower on the car, but rather getting a tune or something simple just to squeeze out a little bit more power. So on a day that I had nothing to do, I took a drive to a local Corvette tuner and asked about getting a tune. He basically talked me out of it, stating that I would not feel much difference and suggested that I go supercharged. But he insisted that I also add headers as well, so the supercharger is not restricted in any way. So we talked about the Pro Charger setup, the A&A setup, and the ECS setup. It's funny, when he started talking about cost, it's pretty much when he lost me. I walked in there thinking about possibly getting a tune if it was reasonable, and thinking, you know, it might cost me a few $100 or so. And when he hit me with the price tag for the supercharger and the add-ons between $7,000 and $12,000, depending on what I wanted, he pretty much lost me. That was way out of the realm of what I was considering. So I left, but he definitely planted the seed and got me thinking about it. So as I started thinking about it more, I started doing some research on the three kits and the differences. And I also looked into some recommended shops in the area. And after much research, I decided that I would most likely go with the A&A kit. I heard good things about their bracket system, as well as that they have better cooling than the others. I did hear of some folks that had cooling issues with some of the other kits. Also, as it turns out, the shop that I visited first had some critical reviews online, so I ruled them out completely for my installation. There were two other shops that were local, and both came highly recommended. So I reached out to both of those for a quote. I asked to be quoted for the A&A V3 TI blower kit, along with Cook's long tube headers, as well as a catless X pipe installed, as well as a tune. When I got the quotes, it's kind of funny that the quotes varied by well over $3,000 for the same components. So the shop that I chose took a small deposit. They ordered the parts and scheduled the installation. And I was leaving for vacation for a week at the time of the installation, so I just left my car with them for a week. They said that the installation should only take a day or two, and another day for tuning, so it would be finished by the time I came back. And the whole time that I was on vacation, I couldn't stop thinking about what kind of power output I could expect, what kind of numbers my car would put down, and really couldn't wait to pick up the car. In my mind, I was hoping that the car was going to be close to 500 horsepower, or maybe just above 500. So when I returned from vacation, I arrived at the shop. I was sitting in their office. Of course, I was full of excitement and anticipation to see what kind of numbers my car was putting down. And first the owner's shop met with me for a few minutes. He collected the balance that was due. And then next, the tuner came in to the office and he presented me with a printout of the dyno results from their Mustang dyno. And I was pleasantly surprised that the numbers were 573 for horsepower and 498 foot-pounds of torque. Actually, I was pretty blown away. So I took it slow, leaving the shop, and down their side streets and onto the main road. Then I headed to the on-ramp to I-95, the interstate, and I had a clear shot to get on. There wasn't any traffic, which was awesome. It was perfect. So heading up the ramp, I was probably doing about 45 when I stomped on the gas and the car just screamed. Having Nitto Invos on the rear, not a very sticky tire, the rear end kicked out a bit before it straightened up and then took off. Eventually I got rid of the Invos and changed over to some NTO 5Rs. It still breaks loose and the blower kicks in, which is usually around 3,000 RPMs. But still to this day, 5 years after buying the C6, it still keeps me on my toes. It keeps me smiling whenever I stomp on the accelerator. And this is definitely the longest that I've ever owned a car. So I also wanted to talk about what's included with the kit, as well as what's recommended in addition to the kit, and how to change the blower oil, maintenance intervals, and where to purchase the oil. So here's the head unit. So when ordering from A&A, you have a choice of either the SI trim, the TI trim, or the YSI, all available in either V2 or V3. So the difference between V2 and V3 is V2 has an external oil feed, and the V3 is completely self-contained. The SI is basically for stock engines that don't have any modifications. The TI trim is for engines that have some basic stuff, headers, maybe a cam, meth injection, and then the YSI is the big blower, and that's for built engines with forged pistons and forged internals. Now here you see the intercooler, and what I've read is that this is one of the components that makes this kit superior to the others. They have a better intercooler. Here is the 4.5-inch air inlet duct, and underneath this panel is where the air filter is. Now you also have your choice of fuel injectors. What comes with the kit is either 60 or 80 pound Bosch injectors, but they do have larger sizes available if you need. It also comes with a fuel pump booster, which I believe is mounted in here in the fender. You can't see it, it's hidden. Comes with the blow-off valve, which is mounted right up in here inside. You have your choice of either a 38 millimeter, 50 millimeter, or 52 millimeter blow-off valve. I went with the 50 millimeter. It also comes with NGK TR6 spark plugs. Comes with a crank pinning kit. You also have your blower bracket system here, and this is another of the reasons why I chose the A&A kit, is because of their superior bracket. It also comes with the polished air duct, all the clamps. The radiator position needs to be changed, needs to be lowered just a bit. And then it comes with this plate, focus the air for better cooling. Now in addition to the A&A kit, we put some new spark plug wires, and I don't know how well you can see them, but we have the Cooks long tubes. Also added the Catless X pipe. So the blower that I chose, the V3 TI, it requires very little maintenance. When I change my engine oil is when I also change the oil in the blower. There's an oil drain plug that's mounted to, I believe, to one of my radiator supports underneath, and it's real easy to get to from under the engine when you're changing the oil. It's right down here, but from the bottom. You open the top fill plug right here. Once it's drained, just close it back up underneath and then fill it from the top, and you're done. It really only takes about 10 minutes to change the oil. This is the oil that I use. This is specifically made for Vortec superchargers. So after many years, I haven't had any issues with the A&A blower kit. So if you're watching this video and considering adding a blower to your C6, I highly recommend it.